Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Good to see everyone again. Glad to be back. Today is our final day reading through the prayers of Lord Brahma from chapter 14 of Krsna Book. We've been on an excursion through Sri Vrndavan Dham, hearing about Lord Brahma's most intimate thoughts, his innermost desires, and then reading about how they are going to be fulfilled, and by extension, how our own innermost desires and hopes and dreams will also be fulfilled by reading these prayers during the month of Purushottam. It is a Ekadashi, and I cannot think of a better way to spend it than with all of you right here, bathing our minds and our hearts in the beautiful pastimes of Sri Govinda Dev. So without further ado, we will jump right in by singing Jai Radha Madhava and creating the atmosphere of Vrndavan right here. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatiravana Chari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Radha Madhava, Radhe Govinda Jaya, Radhe Govinda. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai, Shri Virtual Vrndavan Dham Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Bolanita Gaur Premanande. So for the past few days, we've been talking about a great many things. One of which is how Sri Vrndavan Dham itself can expand and contract according to the needs and necessities of Sri Govinda. So now, Sri Vrndavan Dham has expanded itself. This lotus has expanded to encompass the entire world. Because wherever the glories of the Lord are spoken, that becomes an expansion of Sri Vrndavan Dham. So now this entire globe is encircled by the gorgeous golden lotus of Sri Vrndavan Dham. We are now present in the mystical transcendental realm of sweetness, where everywhere is the fragrance of Sri Krishna's very own body, where everywhere there are wish-fulfilling trees, wish-fulfilling flowers, ready to grant your most cherished desires. All we have to do is set an intention and make sure that that intention is colored with our desire to serve Govinda. So whatever it is we hope and wish for, let us hope that we can use that to enhance our service. We can use that to bring pleasure to the heart of Sri Govinda Dev. So in order to set our intention, in order to bring our minds and our hearts to the right focus, we are going to say our mystical incantation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I meditate upon the form of my dearest Lord, who is full of 6 opulences, who is none other than Vasudev, the Lord of the mind, the heart, and the leader of our consciousness. I pray that we are all enthused by the presence and the mercy of Lord Vasudev. Having said that, I think we're ready. Yesterday, Lord Brahma was expressing his desire, his hope, his prayer, that he just be counted among the devotees, that he have the ability to take birth among the devotees in any form of life, even if he is in the dust of Braj, a clump of grass in Braj, even outside of Braj, just on the outskirts, so that as the devotees leave, they'll walk on him. And he will gain the association and the dust of the lotus feet of those devotees by which everything can be accomplished. Because when we have those pure devotees, we hang on to their chatters like we expressed yesterday, then we get Krishna's mercy. They lead us right to the lotus feet, right to the open arms of our Krishna. That was Lord Brahma's wish yesterday. Now we get to find out what is his wish today. What is the culmination of sweetness? What is the topmost limit of this nectar? He saves it for the very end. Srila Prabhupada seems to save all of this nectar just for this last section. So Lord Brahma continues. My Lord, sometimes I am puzzled as to how your lordship will be able to repay, in gratitude, the devotional service of these residents of Vrndavan. Although I know that you are the supreme source of all benediction, I am puzzled to know how you will be able to repay all the service that you are receiving from these residents of Vrndavan. I think of how you are so kind, so magnanimous, that even Putana, who came to cheat you by dressing herself as a very affectionate mother, was awarded liberation and the actual post of a mother. And other demons belonging to the same family, such as Agasura and Bakasura, were also favored with liberation. Under the circumstances, I am puzzled. These residents of Vrndavan have given you everything. Their bodies, their minds, their love, their homes. Everything is being utilized for your purpose. So how will you be able to repay their debt? You have already given yourself to Putana. I surmise that you shall ever remain a debtor to the residents of Vrndavan, being unable to repay their loving service. And in fact, Sri Krishna himself says the same thing to the gopis once he grows older. Once he manifests his older age, he says to the gopis, I cannot repay you. Napari ham, I cannot repay you. You somehow have to be satisfied with the results of your love, your all-encompassing love. You have to be satisfied with that, because I am dumbstruck. My heart seems empty, unable to repay the amount of love that you have given me. What can I do? And so, our great acharyas say that it is this very statement, I cannot repay you, that spurs a sort of magic within the heart of Sri Krishna. That magic sparks, and that magic begins to burst into flame, and that magic then takes shape and makes the Lord accept a new form, where he reaches into the hearts of the gopis, finds out all that is there, and as we hear within the Chaurastakam, he is an expert thief. He plunders the wealth of the heart of the gopis. What is that wealth? That wealth is love for him, unparalleled, unequaled, unmotivated, uninterrupted love for him, overwhelming love for him. He plunders the riches of their hearts, steals everything. And then as Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu comes and gives it away to everyone he sees, wholesale, for nothing but the price of one's faith. Just a little faith. Once you call out sincerely. They say if Lord Gauranga sees you chanting the name of Krishna and it looks as though you might have a tear in your eye, he gives you love for Krishna. So in saying that he cannot repay the residents of Vrndavan, this sparks the most munificent, the most magnanimous manifestation of Mahabhav that has ever been seen. And that culminates in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for which we are all eternally and incredibly grateful. My Lord, I can understand that the super excellent service of the residents of Vrndavan is due to their spontaneously engaging all natural instincts in your service. It is said that attachment for material objects and home is due to illusion, which makes a living entity conditioned in the material world. But this is only the case for persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. I am going to read that statement again because it is so important. It is said that attachment for material objects and home is due to illusion, which makes a living entity conditioned in the material world. But this is only the case for persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. In the case of the residents of Vrndavan, such obstructions as attachment to hearth and home are non-existent, because their attachment has been converted unto you, and their home has been converted into a temple because you are always there, and because they have forgotten everything for your sake, there is no impediment. Srila Prabhupada says this again and again and again for those of us who have taken to Krishna consciousness, who are trying to be Krishna conscious. You should be attached to your family. You absolutely should be attached to your family and your home, because these are places of pilgrimage. They have become spiritual abodes. Your family are Vaishnavas, for which we should always be attached. So if you have a significant other, husband, wife, whatever it is, and they are a Vaishnav helping you on the path of your devotional service, that attachment is always favorable to our devotional service. That attachment is favorable to getting us on the path back to Godhead. So it is in this way that this realm, this Grihastha ashram, becomes an amazing place where we get to perfect Vaishnav Seva, which is one way that we can fast track back to Godhead by serving the Vaishnavas and gaining their favor. Just like we said yesterday, we need the help of the devotees. So when our families are devotees and we serve them, that is our fast track. We get special dispensation then. For a Krishna conscious person, there is no such thing as impediments in hearth and home, nor is there illusion. So do not think that your families are holding you back. They're not. It is our mindset. The moment we realize we are serving Vaishnavas and we are sweeping the dust of spiritual abodes, if we have to clean our homes, that is Krishna's temple. If we have to take care of our family, those are Krishna's people. And then we progress. I can also understand that your appearance as a small cowherd boy, a child of the cowherd men, is not at all a material activity. You are so much obliged by their affection that you are here to enthuse them with more loving service by your transcendental presence. In Vrndavan, there is no distinction between material and spiritual, because everything is dedicated to your loving service. My dear Lord, your Vrndavan pastimes are simply to enthuse your devotees. If someone takes your Vrndavan pastimes to be material, he will be misled. My dear Lord Krishna, those who deride you, claiming that you have a material body like an ordinary man, are described in the Bhagavad Gita as demoniac and less intelligent. You are always transcendental. The non-devotees are cheated because they consider you to be a material creation. Actually, you have assumed this body, which resembles that of an ordinary cowherd boy, simply to increase the devotion and transcendental bliss of your devotees. Whatever Krishna does, he does it only to increase the love of those who are dear to him. My dear Lord, I have nothing to say about people who advertise that they have already realized God, or that by their realization they have themselves become God. But as far as I'm concerned, I admit frankly that for me it is not possible to realize you by my body, mind, or speech. What can I say about you, or how can I realize you by my senses? I cannot even think of you perfectly with my mind, which is the master of the senses. Your qualities, your activities, and your body cannot be conceived by any person within this material world. Only by your mercy can one understand to some extent what you are. My dear Lord, you are the supreme Lord of all creation. Although I sometimes falsely think that I am the master of this universe, I may be the master of this universe, but there are innumerable universes, and there are innumerable Brahmas who also preside over these universes. But actually, you are the master of them all. As the supersoul in everyone's heart, you know everything. Please, therefore, accept me as your surrendered servant. I hope that you will excuse me for disturbing you in your pastimes with your friends and calves. Now, if you kindly will allow me, I will immediately leave, so that you can enjoy your friends and calves without my presence. My dear Lord Krishna, your very name suggests that you are all attractive. The attraction of the sun and the moon are all due to you. By the attraction of the sun, you are beautifying the very existence of the Yadu dynasty. With the attraction of the moon, you are enhancing the potency of the land, the demigods, the brahmanas, the cows, and the oceans. Because of your supreme attraction, demons like Kamsa and others are annihilated. Therefore, it is my deliberate conclusion that you are the only worshipful deity within the creation. Accept my humble obeisances until the annihilation of this material world. As long as there is sunshine within this material world, kindly accept my humble obeisances. In this way, Brahma, the master of this universe, after offering humble and respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and circumambulating him 3 times, was ready to return to his abode known as Brahmaloka. By his gesture, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave him permission to return. So, Sri Krishna just inclined his head a little, like, you may leave. As soon as Brahma left, Lord Sri Krishna immediately appeared as he had on the very day the cows and cowherd boys had vanished. Krishna had left his friends on the bank of the Jamuna while they were engaged in lunch, and although he returned exactly 1 year later, the cowherd boys thought that he had returned within a second. That is the way of Krishna's different energies and activities. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is residing in everyone's heart, and he causes both remembrance and forgetfulness. All living entities are controlled by the supreme energy of the Lord, and sometimes they remember, and sometimes they forget their constitutional position. His friends, being controlled in such a way, could not understand that for 1 whole year they were absent from the Jamuna bank, and were under the spell of Brahma's illusion. When Krishna appeared before the boys, they thought, Krishna has returned within a minute. They began to laugh, thinking that Krishna was not willing to leave their lunchtime company. As we remember, Krishna said, don't worry, I will go and search out the calves. You don't even move, don't worry, don't do anything, because the calves had disappeared. Krishna says, I personally will take on the responsibility for eradicating all of your distress. This is what Krishna does for us every day. We get worried. Krishna says, don't worry. I'll personally handle everything that is troubling you. I myself will go and seek out the source of your trouble, and I will handle it all. They were very jubilant and invited him. Dear friend Krishna, you have come back so quickly. All right, we have not as yet begun our lunch, not even taken 1 morsel of food. So please come, join us, and let us eat together. I think it's so sweet that the boys felt the need to tell Krishna, we didn't start without you. We didn't even take 1 morsel of food without you. Just come back and eat with us. Krishna smiled and accepted their invitation, and he began to enjoy the lunchtime company of his friends. While eating, Krishna was thinking, these boys believe that I have come back within a second, but they do not know that for the last year I have been involved with the mystic activities of Lord Brahma. After finishing their lunch, Krishna and his friends and calves began to return to their Vrndavan homes. While passing, they enjoyed seeing the dead carcass of Aghasura in the shape of a gigantic serpent. When Krishna returned home to Vrndavan, he was seen by all the inhabitants of Vrndavan. He was wearing a peacock feather in his helmet, which was also decorated with forest flowers. Krishna was also garlanded with flowers and painted with different colored minerals collected from the caves of Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill is always famous for supplying natural red dyes, and Krishna and his friends painted their bodies with them. Each of them had a bugle made of buffalo horn, and a stick, and a flute, and each called his respective calves by their particular names. They were so proud of Krishna's wonderful activities that while entering the village, they all sang his glories. Just imagine what a kirtan that would be. All the gopis in Vrndavan saw beautiful Krishna entering the village. The boys composed nice songs describing how they were saved from being swallowed by the great serpent, and how the serpent was killed. Some described Krishna as the son of Yashoda, and others as the son of Nanda Maharaj. He is so wonderful that he saved us from the clutches of the great serpent and killed him, they said. But little did they know that 1 year had passed since the killing of Aghasura. In this regard, Maharaj Parikshit asked Shukadev Goswami how the inhabitants of Vrndavan suddenly developed so much love for Krishna, although Krishna was not a member of any of their families. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, during the absence of the original cowherd boys, when Krishna expanded himself, why is it that the boys' parents became more loving toward him than toward their own sons? Also, why did the cows become so loving toward the calves more than toward their own calves? Shukadev Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that every living entity is actually most attached to his own self. Outward paraphernalia such as home, family, friends, country, society, wealth, opulence, reputation, etc. are all only secondary in pleasing the living entity. They please only because they bring pleasure to the self. For this reason, one is self-centered and is attached to his body and self more than he is to his relatives like wife, children, and friends. If there is some immediate danger to one's own person, he first takes care of himself, then others. That is natural. That means more than anything else, he loves his own self. The next important object of affection after his own self is his material body. A person who has no information of the spirit soul is very much attached to his material body, so much so that even in old age, he wants to preserve the body in so many artificial ways, thinking that his old and broken body can be saved. Everyone is working hard day and night just to give pleasure to his own self under either the bodily or spiritual conception of life. We are attached to material possessions because they give pleasure to the senses or to the body. The attachment to the body is there only because the I, the spirit soul within the body. The spirit soul is within the body. Similarly, when one is further advanced, he knows that the spirit soul is pleasing because it is part and parcel of Krishna. Ultimately, it is Krishna who is pleasing and all attractive. He is the super soul of everything, and in order to give us this information, Krishna descends and tells us that the all-attractive center is he himself. Without being an expansion of Krishna, nothing can be attractive. Whatever is attractive within this cosmic manifestation is due to Krishna. Krishna is therefore the reservoir of all pleasure. The active principle of everything is Krishna, and highly elevated transcendentalists see everything in connection with him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that a Mahabhagavat, or highly advanced devotee, sees Krishna as the active principle in all movable and immovable living entities. Therefore, he sees everything within this cosmic manifestation in relation to Krishna. For the fortunate person who has taken shelter of Krishna as everything, liberation is already there. He is no longer in this material world. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna is already on the Brahma Bhuta or spiritual platform. The very name Krishna suggests piety and liberation. Anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna enters the boat for crossing over the ocean of nescience. For him, this vast expansion of the material manifestation becomes as insignificant as a hoofprint. I will read that again. This is our crowning glory. This is our great hope. This is our everything. If we take shelter of one thing, let it be this. Let it be this one line, this one short piece. Anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna enters the boat for crossing over the ocean of nescience. For him, this vast expansion of the material manifestation becomes as insignificant as a hoofprint. Krishna is the center of all great souls, and he is the shelter of the material worlds. Sometimes everyone is thinking how to fix this place. There is no fixing it, but we can transcend it just by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, of which there are so many descriptions given. His lotus feet are marked with a flag, thunderbolt, elephant goad, lotus. We just have to take shelter of looking at this, meditating on this wonderful image within our hearts, placing the lotus feet of Lord Krishna within our hearts, taking shelter forever of them, reddishly tinged on the bottom, with nails that put the luster of pearls to shame, ornamented with beautiful toe rings in a variety of jewels, with anklets that shine like burnished gold, just as if they had been polished that very moment. Those two lotus feet are the shelter of all the worlds. They are the very boat for fixing this place. This is the only way we get out of all of this. Everybody is looking, trying to get away from the miseries that are going to come from every single direction. The only way we get free from it all is by taking shelter of the image, by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Govinda. Let the lotus feet of Sri Govinda be our eternal shelter, today and always. I pray that this is our prayer and desire on this holy Ekadashi day, within the holiest month of Sri Purushottam Mas. Let those two lotus feet shelter us, enthuse us, give us the most divine pleasure of association with our supreme lotus-eyed Lord. Let us always remain under the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and his pure devotees. For one who is on the platform of Krishna consciousness, Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world, is not far away. He does not live within this material world where there is danger at every step. In this way, Krishna consciousness was fully explained by Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Shukadev Goswami even recited to the king the statements and prayers of Lord Brahma. These descriptions of Lord Krishna's pastimes with his cowherd boys, his eating with them on the bank of the Jamuna, and Lord Brahma's prayers unto him are all transcendental subject matters. Anyone who hears, recites, or chants them surely gets all his spiritual desires fulfilled. Thus Krishna's childhood appearance, his sporting with Balaram in Vrndavan, was described. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 14th chapter of Krishna, prayers offered by Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai, Sri Brahmadev ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a beautiful ending. There is hope that our supreme destination, the place that we are always hankering for, that spiritual abode where there is no misery, where every word is a song, every step is a dance, that place is not far away. Not for those who find joy in eagerly and repeatedly hearing and reciting the transcendental pastimes of our sweet Lord. We should understand with full absolute faith that if we just take to this process, then we don't reside in this place full of miseries. Krishna will take us by the hand and usher us personally into his own abode, where we will forever feel enthused. We will forever feel the effulgence of his presence right next to us at all times. I feel so fortunate to have been able to be here with all of you. And I feel grateful that we were able to somehow make our Ekadashi fruitful. However we have been observing it. This is Krishna's special mercy. This is Srila Prabhupada's special mercy. Maybe we weren't able to just eat one time a day. Maybe we weren't able to do all of this intense austerity that can be performed on Ekadashi. But what we can do is hear and chant the glories of our Govinda over and over and over again. Even if those glories are as simple as saying, I belong to Govinda and therefore Govinda belongs to me. Govinda has promised us his unlimited mercy at every moment, the moment we turn our faces to him. All glories to our wonderfully compassionate Govinda, whose heart is more vast than we can ever imagine. And yet, for those who give him their hearts in transcendental loving devotional service, he himself says, my heart is so vast that it can fill up the entirety of this creation. And yet I cannot repay you. He finds himself unable to repay the debt of gratitude that he feels towards those who just love him. They don't have to perform any kind of rigorous austerities. They don't even have to read the Vedas perfectly. All we must do is just remember him with love and affection. That is the key. The affection. And how simple it could be for all of us. Having affection for Krishna is not hard. After all, he's set up such charming activities. He's made himself so handsome, so all attractive. We can find something to be attracted to. Even if we think, I love Krishna and I think of him as my very own child, I just want to make sure that he is protected. Our lives are perfect. If we think Krishna is my dearmost friend, I'm going to make sure that I play with Krishna. Our lives are perfect. If we think I just want to dedicate my mind, body, word, soul, everything, I want to serve him somehow. Give me some task, any task, whatever it is, Govinda, I will do it for you. Our lives are made perfect. And if we yet again think Krishna is the most handsome paramour, the most handsome lover anyone has ever seen in this world, how could anyone have full control over their mind after hearing about him just once? I can't help myself. I've given my heart to him. Our lives are made perfect. We just have to get out of our own way. That remembrance is all that is required. And once that remembrance takes over, then we begin hearing, chanting, more and more until we become obsessed with it. That is the goal. To become so obsessed that this hearing and chanting takes over everything. It is said that while Mother Yashoda was doing everything for Krishna, she would sing about her little boy. Sing about him, sing about how wonderful he was. And in this way, she was always performing the kirtan of her little Gopal. The cowherd boys, at the end of one day, they would think, how can we go home and be separated from our Gopal just for the duration of a night? Sometimes Krishna would go into the forest, and some of the youngest cowherd boys could not go with him. They were too small, and they would simply cry, thinking, how can we maintain our little lives? The goal of my entire small existence is just to see my friend Gopal's smiling face. In that same way, the gopis would strain their eyes looking down the path until they could no longer see the dust raised from the hoofprints of the cows and the calves. And in this state, there is a verse from Padyavali where the gopis are encouraging one another. Get up. Stop what you are doing. Stop whatever it is that you are doing right now. Get up, because I see the dust from the cows being raised. And everything about that statement speaks about Krishna, even indirectly. One gopi would say to another, stop stringing that garland. Stop teaching the parrots to recite poetry. Stop doing all these things, because I'm looking out the window and the dust from the hoofprints of the cows is rising again. And that can only mean one thing. Our Govinda is coming back. Of course, we understand and we know that the only reason they would be stringing those garlands is for Krishna. The only reason they would be teaching the parrots to recite poetry is so that the parrots would speak about Krishna. And now, can we imagine the anticipation? All day they've been waiting. It says that the gopis have on their houses moon towers made of crystal, where they sit and look from a vantage point and just wait to see the dust rising in Sri Vrndavan, heralding with great fanfare that Krishna will return. Not long after that is the winding sound of Krishna's flute that strolls in on the breeze and acts as another messenger that says, Govinda has returned. This is the anticipation that we need when we run to chant japa, when we run to kirtan, when we run to the recitation of Krishna's glories and pastimes, when we run to the arti ceremony, when we run for darshan. This is the anticipation that we need. It is that anticipation that finds its way through this material world, up through the 7 layers and coverings of material nature, through the black dense covering of this material creation, past the Brahmajyoti effulgence, and directly into the spiritual world. It is this eagerness, this greed, this obsession that winds its way into the divine realm of Sri Goloka Vrndavan, directly into the very heart of Krishna, and pulls him like a rope. Pulls him like a very rope until he decides, I must run. I must go find this personality, this living entity that has such eagerness for me. And then we drag him somehow to us. He becomes bound. He becomes Sri Damodar. Just for the sake of giving pleasure to his devotees. Everything that he does is just to give us an excuse to fall in love with him in whatever form our heart desires. And in whatever form our heart desires, Krishna will reciprocate. That will become the crowning glory of our lives. If we can just color in everything of our daily activities with this remembrance, with this meditation, that whatever Krishna does, he does simply to have us fall more in love with him. If we can just remember that however Krishna appears, whenever Krishna appears, he is always perfect, complete, and fully manifested. Whether he appears in a deity form, whether he appears in the form of the sound vibration of his holy name, whether he appears even within the mind, whether he appears within a dream, Krishna is always complete, fully manifested, and perfect. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna has come just to associate with you. Now we must make ourselves ready to speak with him, so that we hear him talk back, so that we hear the sweet sound of his voice, so that we can hear the sweet call of his flute, so that somehow we remember our real constitutional position, our real life as belonging to Govinda. And in that, all of our desires will be fulfilled. This is the essence of this month. Today, on a day when, even during this month, everything is absolutely, completely amplified. All of our spiritual aspirations can be amplified. All of our endeavors can reap untold benefit. On a day like today, wish, pray, hope with all your heart, and believe with full faith and conviction. Believe in the mercy of Govinda. Believe that his miracles are coming. Wish for them. The sky is the limit. Wish for all that your heart could possibly desire. And wish that it all happens in a way that is conducive to us somehow continuing our devotional service. That devotional service attracts the heart of the all-attractive. It is the one thing that Krishna can't seem to explain. He can't seem to come to the end of its glories. And the way that it attracts him is just inexplicable. We have the ability to gain the undivided attention of someone that the entire creation wants. The entire creation is looking at him. And somehow, all he really wants, Srimad Bhagavatam says, the one thing that can really, completely fulfill Govinda is our loving devotional service. Let us take shelter of that devotional service with full hearts. One of my friends is saying, wish upon a star. Absolutely. Make a wish this day. Make 1,000 wishes this day. But let Krishna be a part of every single one of those wishes. And then watch. Watch how he makes them all come true. Your life will become a complete testimony to the magic of Govinda. With that said, we have concluded our sessions on the prayers of Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. We have gone on a mystical journey where we have spoken the words of Lord Brahma and tried to imbibe his prayers and make them our own. We have discovered how we can rope Krishna in. We've discovered how we can stalk him, become obsessed fans of Govinda, and in that way he will also become obsessed with us. Krishna is reciprocal. As my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So he does exactly the same. He reciprocates in exactly the same way that we approach him. So if we are obsessed with him, he will become obsessed with us. This has been such a beautiful journey. Lord Brahma says that all of these secrets, liberation, everything can be achieved for one who just treads the path of devotional service. I hope and pray that our path, the road of devotional service, is paved with the identifying footprints of our previous acharyas. I pray that we are completely and always protected by these previous acharyas. I pray that they protect our hearts, they protect our endeavors, they protect our intentions, our vows, our sankalpas. I pray that they are all protected by the previous acharyas. I pray that they are protected by Lord Brahma himself. I pray that they are protected by Shri Radha Govinda Dev. I hope and pray that all of your desires are fulfilled, and that in no time we are all swimming in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Until next time, we will see what other adventures Purushottam Mas will hold in store for us as we continue to explore the unlimitedly sweet, loving pastimes of Sri Govinda Dev. Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai. Kali Yuga Dharma Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Sri Krishna Lila ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Thank you. I'll see you again soon.